Welcome to the September 26th meeting of the Stockbridge Affordable Housing Trust. We are going to first have a motion, if appropriate, to approve minutes. Yes? No?
Move.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have no one online, so we can just do it with a general aye. Okay. So now I'm going to go back and share a screen, if you give me a second. All right, so I got a copy yesterday of the actual seasonal community draft regulations. If anybody wants a copy, they can reach out to me and I will forward them to them. I do believe they were online as of today. Zoom Workplace, share screen. All right, hold on, share. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm just going to bump it up in size a little bit. Nope.
You do have somebody online, you know.
Yeah, she's.
Patty
Oh,
Cuddy.
okay, no, I thought you said there was nobody online.
Not one of us.
No members.
No members.
No members online. We have to do a roll call if there's a member online.
Like if one of us was on Zoom, we would do roll.
Okay. So, there's 5 or 6 areas that were outlined in this. I did not write this. I had Perplexity, which is one of the AI engines, summarize it. I did read the regulations to confirm that the summary was accurate, but these are basically slides that were prepared by, you know, the great AI overlords for us on our behalf. All right. I thought we could all take one and just go around the room and then on each one sort of talk about how we feel. Bruce, you want to start? And just maybe just review the slide, you know, kind of read the slide into the record, and then maybe we'll talk about it as a group. To give you a sense of where they're going, there's 5 or 6 slides. I'm just going to do the headlines of them all, and then we'll go back and look at each of them. The first one deals with zoning, and the big issues here are the tiny house law rules and the undersized lot rules. The second is public employees, preference for public employees, and what some of the details there are. Third is artist housing provisions. The fourth is AMI and the increase in the ability to increase basically for the middle class, some housing options, whether subsidized or just simply designated for full-time housing and residents. The fifth one is the year-round housing trust fund, which I think we shouldn't talk about today. It's complicated and not really relevant in the short term. And then 5 slides on demographics that I personally added. So that's where we're going with this. I thought we'd have a conversation for 15, 20 minutes on each one of these things and what we think about it and you know, just kind of educate each other.
Okay. How would you like to?
I you know,
Slides and 5 people at the table and, you know, we can basically go through each one and, you know, if that's crazy, I'll go through them myself. I don't care.
I have a hard time with the concept in our community in Stockbridge of having communities with multiple 400 square foot homes on it. You know, a parcel of land that basically has,
Tiny houses,
what's that?
the tiny houses.
Tiny houses.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, it's like going camping. I mean, when I went camping, my tent was bigger than 400 square feet.
This is,
It was I had 5 people and, you know, I needed to house in it.
you understand though, that in Stockbridge, you already can build a tiny house.
I
You can't
understand.
build a tiny mobile house.
Right.
This has to do with what the mandates are, not with whether it's a good idea.
I understand that, but if it's mandated,
Not mandated that we build them, it's mandated that we allow them. We already allow them. We already meet that mandate.
okay.
I mean, there's nothing in our zoning that says you can't build a 400 square foot lot on your $100,000, 400 square foot house on your $100,000 lot. You can already do it, you just can't be on wheels.
Okay.
And this allows us to ban the wheels. If you don't want the wheels, if you don't want mobile homes, it allows us to ban them. I mean, right? You can build a 400 square foot house right now.
Sure.
Yeah, live kind of, and by the way, you can't build a cabin. It has to meet all the other building code issues. That means you gotta have solar ready, has to be like the right insulation level and, you know, you have to have septic and wetland setbacks, you know.
Okay.
Zoning. Really, it's the zoning
Yeah.
I'm looking at.
This isn't about whether it's a good idea or not. It's about whether or not adopting this would somehow damage the town. Because you can already build a tiny house. The fact that nobody does is the market.
Okay. Or hasn't so far.
Yeah.
I have one question about the second bullet point, which is, do they define what an undersized lot is? in that?
More importantly, they let us define it.
They let us define it.
Yes.
So it has to be smaller than R2. For example, R2 means 2 acres.
Right.
So the undersized lot has to be smaller than 2 acres. You can make it at one point, the planning board has to adopt what the sizes are going to be before we adopt this.
Okay.
Or in conjunction with when we adopt this. And they could say any size lot starting at 0, or they could say 1.9. It has to be 95% of the current lot size. The undersized lot mandate lets the town decide how much undersized is going to be allowed, what the minimum size is.
Well, this is good.
I'm sorry, maximum size.
This is
Whatever.
good. At least it's not a mandate on everybody gets.
No, yeah, you can't have, if you're in R2 and you have a quarter acre, you may still may not be able to build it. The planning board gets to decide.
And what about, have they defined what attainable housing is?
Yeah, that's the
Yes,
next slide.
that comes.
Okay.
So, I mean, the mandates, a lot of people ask them to water down the mandates. And my point is, I think they did. They're allowing us to ban mobile homes.
Mhm.
And otherwise, our zoning already allows you to build as small house as you want. And they're basically allowing us to define the minimum size of an undersized lot as close to the current zoning as we want. That's kind of the point there, is it's not all that onerous. Doesn't change the character of the town for those who are worried about it. Okay.
I don't even fully understand the wording.
All right.
I mean, because you're saying you can build a tiny house, the maximum it can be is 400 square feet. Well, people are building houses that are significantly larger than 400 square feet. What does that even mean?
You're talking about a second house on a piece of property. You're not talking about one. You're talking about, it's like an accessory dwelling unit. As opposed, you've got your house. And then this is just saying by right, you can do 400 square feet.
That's not what it says.
That's what,
That's not what it says, Lit. It says as year-round housing in a single-family zone.
That's what's interesting. I don't know where there's a single family.
So I don't even understand the wording,
Right.
But
because it's not saying you can build an accessory dwelling
no, but
that's a tiny house up to 400 square feet.
so the definition of a single family zone is any zone in town where single family housing is allowed. That's R2, R4,
Okay.
R1, R half. We have a whole bunch of zones where single family homes are allowed. And you would have to give them by right the ability to build a tiny home on their lot instead if they want. Remember, they're rent for 351 municipalities. Some of them may ban tiny homes now. If they do, they can't,
Become,
they'd have to change it. We don't. I don't know of anywhere in our zoning that requires you to build
no.
a minimum size. So this is a river Stockbridge. It's written for everybody.
But it would say,
You can't have that loud, you don't. Okay, whatever. Okay.
so
I just don't understand what the maximum 400 square feet issue,
It's the best, my whole point, Bruce, it's irrelevant here.
Right.
Okay.
This is just as broad.
Now, look, it would be relevant if the planning board wanted to allow mobile homes like they do in West Stockbridge, in the mobile home park, then it's different. Some people have opinions on mobile home. In this case, number one, it has 0 impact on this town. Because you can already, if you wanted to, build a 350 square foot house and have your kitchen on top of your bed. You can do that already, you know? Okay.
So are they saying the maximum 400 square feet, that's what they call a tiny house? That's. if
Yeah, they've
it's big-
defined what a tiny house is in the regulations.
If it's bigger than 400 square feet, it's not a tiny house.
and a suggestion is, since it just came out today, and to do more research and reading, we're not we can't today make any determinations. It just came out.
I'm not suggesting, I'm just,
No, we're just going.
I was originally going to go through the slides from 9/11 and then the actual regulations came out last night. And I was like, all right, might as well just talk about the real thing. You can find that, they're basically available now,
No, this-
So what does it mean if somebody wants to build a 500 square foot house? They're not allowed to?
No, it's just
Yeah.
not considered a tiny house.
What?
They can already do that by right.
Can't call it a tiny house.
Right, it's not a tiny house.
And Patty has her hand raised.
Hi, Patty. Yes.
Hi, there actually is all sorts of information online about the differences between an ADU and a tiny house. So it might be good after this meeting for you folks to sort of like look into it. An ADU is an additional unit on an existing lot that already has a unit. And a tiny house can be built on its own on a piece of land. Tiny homes are often on wheels, but they don't have to be. ADUs have to be on a foundation. Tiny homes do not have to be. Like, there are differences. So I understand this is the first discussion, but you guys should maybe bone up on it because it seems to be a lot of confusion. I know you're just going through the slides for the very first time, but there are differences.
If we knew.
Yeah, none of this deals with ADUs. This is just,
Yeah.
That was about right.
Time that we're doing this.
I would think what they're saying is you can't ban tiny homes. You gotta allow them. And they tell you what the tiny home is. They gotta allow tiny homes. You can't ban them. We've never banned them. Nobody does it because the economics of building a tiny home for this marketplace in Stockbridge are not so smart. But nobody banned it.
Well, it's like the new house that went up that's on Hawthorne, on Prospect Hill.
There's a small one.
What's that?
It looks very small. And it has teeny tiny windows.
On the right-hand side?
It's gray.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's a free country though.
not a tiny home, but it's certainly not a home that you'd expect to see on a lot that size.
It's a home.
You're talking about the one with the farm, associated with the farm? By the, no.
No, it's on the right before that, and it's before that barn that has.
It's before the brick house.
Say before, the south side of the
Brick
north.
house before that they were working on for like 16 years or something.
Maybe that's an ADU, who knows? Okay, all right. Page 3. Housing preference for public employees.
Works for me.
Want to do year-round housing trust fund? Or did we don't do
What?
that?
No, we haven't even got,
Oh, okay.
next slide. Housing preference for public employees. This is basically about one of the preferences that you can do. You can do a preference for, essential workers and municipal employees. We already did that. We've had this conversation before. Must comply with fair housing laws. It's my understanding what that means is that while you can create some percentage of preference, there are other, if you're going to build a community of houses, like let's say it was a Pinewood style development. I'm not saying we would do that, but some of them, you can't put 100% of them for that. That's my understanding there.
Okay.
And also like how you, in terms of like,
How you market it.
right, how you market it and also like kind of the mix of the people that you market it to.
All inclusive. You may not.
Right.
There's a lot of very strict rules for this. But that's just real estate. It's all fair. You bring anybody and everybody in. You don't fish for certain types of people.
Right.
But then this says that you are allowed to prioritize.
Yes, in that case, yes.
If we adopt.
It's also based on what they make too, so. It
Yeah,
all
we're gonna
fits
get to
in-
that.
Yeah, it also fits into, it all comes together.
What do they mean when they basically say that we can prioritize housing for essential employees?
It means if,
I mean,
yeah,
what do they expect that the seasonal community is going to be doing? Dissuading?
Can't afford to live here now is the point.
What's that?
They can't afford to live here now is the point.
Right.
And
let's say you build 10 units.
But that's no different than anything else we've talked about in the Affordable Housing Trust.
that's true, but this is a different designation. This is.
Yeah, okay.
For the town,
Yeah.
If the town goes to town meeting and votes for it.
right.
We have to be clear.
This is all, yeah. It's basically saying you could build housing and preference your local municipal workers, which includes teachers of the district or teachers aides or all of us.
Well, we talked about this at the last meeting about whether we should change the name of our trust.
Yeah. We could only focus on this if we wanted to. If we only want to focus on municipal housing, we could just do that. Absolutely. Artist housing provisions. Now, this also allows us to create housing programs specifically for artists and literary professionals. So it's another type of reference. We can allow, for example, like Berkshire Theater Group or Tanglewood or whoever to develop housing that was targeted toward that was affordable in nature. Just same as in the regulations. All right. This one's a little bit on the confusing side, but we know what area median income is. The Berkshires, for example, it ranges from about 7 to 110, depending on how many kids you have. This basically allows you to have the town set as part of the process of adopting this, how much of a percentage above what the area median income is now. So, for example, usually affordable housing is no more than 120% AMI. This would allow us to double that. So, and that would be for home ownership. A lot of times the rentals are in the 40 to 60% range. All right. This allows us to kind of create housing, or at least give some people like, how this would impact us would be things like down payment assistance. You got a middle class family that wants to buy, and because of the price they found, the best one they could find in Stockbridge was 600 grand, and they can only afford 500 grand. And we could basically give them $50,000 down payment that maybe gets matched by a bank. That's what this is. Usually those people wouldn't qualify because they make too much money, but this gives us a way to, do things like down payment assistance for middle class families. Everyone get that one?
Yes.
No problem.
Okay.
You got it.
This one here is confusing. The part about this is the most, I don't understand the difference between what we do now and a year-round housing trust fund. I got to read up on this. And frankly, that allows for regional trust funds, but they're not tax exempt because it's the weirdest thing. There's a different law that talks about what can be tax exempt. And I can't imagine having a regional trust that was paying taxes in the state of Massachusetts. But this is why I thought we could discuss at a later date if there was any interest in the basic concepts before we get into the advanced seminar. All right.
So I have one question, because I haven't done a lot of reading on the seasonal communities, but are most of the changes that the state is proposing, or if the town were to adopt a seasonal communities designation, relate to housing, or are there other areas besides housing?
I think the big thing else that they do is they allow you to do the residential exemption from 35 to 50%. I think that was the only thing I saw that was non-housing related. I think that
So most of it is housing focused.
I mean, if the select board wanted to adopt a seasonal, I don't want to speak for Jamie, if there's some interest in the residential exemption in the future, it gives them more running room in terms of what the percentage is. It has to be a minimum of 10%. And it goes from 35 to 50 as the maximum under this. I think there's relative. I think in the short term anyway, we're not about to do that. Maybe not, though. Who knows? Maybe they'll change their mind. But I don't see much else other than potential money to do these kinds of things, because I think there's going to be earmarked money related to this. Okay. Just a snapshot. This just tells you like what the curve is of the employed by age, 18 to 24. This is for Berkshire County, 25 to 34. Actually, in Berkshire County,
Interesting.
the greatest number of employed people are people who are 65 and over. Okay.
Is that true?
Because we can't retire.
Look at the curve.
Is that true? Wow.
All right. And for all of Massachusetts, it's like the rest of the country, it's a bell curve. So the two lowest ones are the youngest people and the oldest people. And it's the ones in the middle that are the highest. The most
Not here.
and people are middle-aged, that's the way it's supposed to
Right,
be.
so here we're not, we just don't have that many middle-aged people.
And then there's just one other,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's worse than that. We have basically like, in most of the places, it's, okay. And there's just one other stat here, and this is a little bit hard to see, but I will just blow it up and then screen it across. All right, this is employee by occupation income. So basically you're looking at under 35 to up to 100. So can you guys, I still can't see it.
Oh, not too bad.
We're gonna basically blow it right out. Healthcare.
So health,
So the healthcare market has, and this is Berkshire County.
Is that by age, just by,
No, this is basically by age group, yes.
yes, okay, okay.
All right. So, you have, this is not, employed by age. Wait,
Yes.
no, it's shifting, not page 9. Just employment this is employment by income, has nothing to do with age.
Okay.
All right. So basically, under 35,000, there's 2,500 people who are working healthcare. All right. There's 1,000 people who make more than 100 grand that work in healthcare. So this just gives you a snapshot of what people do in the Berkshires, the top industries: healthcare, education, manufacturing, management, retail, which, retail is off the charts. By far the biggest is the low wage retail workers in this county, so 10% of the workers.
Okay, and they're making less than 35%, 35,000?
And then none of them make more than 100 according to this chart.
Well, surprise.
I don't know. I've been to the same restaurants that's around here. Just kidding. Construction and arts. So, I mean, I think as you think about kind of what people do around here, that kind of tells a story. All right. So that's so are there any just general takeaways? Bruce, you don't like tiny houses.
Oh, I didn't say they don't like tiny houses. I just wanted to be sure that they weren't suggesting that we should be developing tiny house communities.
I mean, I think they are suggesting.
I think that's what they are suggesting. Exactly what they're
I
suggesting.
understand.
Yeah,
I'm not enthused about tiny house communities.
yeah.
But I'm not opposed to someone
But
tiny house that's what they want to live in.
I'm just giving you a little last month feedback. Since the Waller School opened to the other end of the street, am I pointing in the right direction? They're down there. I can't figure out directions. I've had a lot of people say to me, it's so nice to see young people on the front lawn and, in the town green and hanging out on Main Street. People just like to see it. My personal opinion on this one is that we as a town have normalized a really weird, that is basically our population curve right here. Mostly it's the highest percentage of all people. It is not normal in America to have towns where there are no young people. It's not normal. And when people come up and they say, oh, it's so great to see young people, it's not normal. All right. And you know what? If you did one or two of these things where you had 25 tiny homes set back behind some trees, and you said, the guy that built that building cost $8 million. And I talked to Carl. He was a general contractor. He estimated you could do a nice tiny home for $120,000. All right. You get the land, you put up 25 of those, you figure out within the context of fair housing laws, these are going to be targeted 50%, minimum 50% for first-time home buyers. You made them for sale, so the people have to have jobs. You go to you then a year after that goes in, you're going to the post office, you're going to be seeing a whole bunch of young people. People's kids maybe would take a job here with the highway department or with the water and sewer department, rather than, because right now the average apartment in Berkshire County is over $2,000. Your mortgage on one of these would be $900 and you'd own it.
Yeah.
And I would just suggest that I don't think that would change, my personal opinion, it would not change the character of this community to target a couple of developments somewhere in town of these little houses targeted for young people to get them to be in home ownership and taking jobs and have a rent of $900,000 a month. I think it also is good for society, for people to get out of their parents' basements. Yeah, right now there's no inventory, and for what there is, young people can't afford it. I think you get them into a tiny house is better than better than keeping them in the basement.
And they can save for the
Yeah.
house that they're looking for.
That's right.
Like,
And they build
they
a
have
credit.
nothing.
That's fine. I have based on my own experience, both in general and also from one of my children, I have a slightly different perspective on why we don't have a lot of young people. And it's because we have not made ourselves sufficiently attractive to young families to want to come here and spend their time here, because we don't have the activities. My oldest loves our house in Stockbridge. He actually at one point in time considered buying a place here, but they live in Manhattan. So they're very close to here. They have some friends that basically had a place in the Hamptons, and they started going out there. And every time I talked to him, why don't you come up and spend a week or two, your week or two vacation in the summertime up here? Oh, well, there's just so much more for the kids to do in the Hamptons. There's so many activities there. The farm things that they have for kids. And obviously there's the beach and the ocean, which has a certain attractiveness to it. And it's the same thing with people that I know that, go to the Cape. Because they're seasonal communities in some respects like we are, where they have a high percentage of people that, that have sort of second homeowners and whatnot. But there's something about the environment that is more attractive for my 30-something or 40-something-year-old kids to go with their children and spend time. And the same thing could be true even for year-round people. And so I think, the issue of tiny houses and being able to afford to live here is certainly one thing, but I think we need to do a better job as a town in marketing what we have to offer young families in terms of what they can do for themselves and with their children when they're here, whether they're here some seasonally or full-time.
Yeah, and we have questions.
Sure.
Thank you. So I have two hats that I wear at least. One of them is in the arts and music, and I was the public programs manager at the Brooklyn Children's Museum. And my other hat is I teach graduate school social work. And you're speaking about not enough things to do. There are many things to do in this tri-county area between Berkshire County for children, Berkshire, Columbia, and Litchfield County. Just today, what I do for people, for adults and for children, I always have and I also was a field producer for the TV show Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego or PBS. So I always have my eyes out for activities and events that are family-oriented, child-oriented. And I literally notify all the people I know, including, for example, children, that there's Grumbling Griffins Children's Theater Company in Cornwall, Connecticut, which is owned and created by my friend. 45 years it's been in existence. They're doing a play on the front lawn of the Wish House in Cornwall, Connecticut. I really do, honestly, because I'm a community builder. And by the way, I was the main organizer for the first affordable housing forum in Berkshire County 25 years ago called Housing Our Communities, Can We Afford Not To? So I'm just disagreeing with you. I think it's a question of if you're aware of what's going on, if you're hooked into the arts community, the education community, I can tell you really that there are many, many things. It's a question of who you're connected to and what you're aware of.
But that isn't.
I completely agree with you. And that was part of my point. My daughter, on the other hand, comes up here with her family. She usually comes for most of July. And she basically calls her brother, Philip, if you came and spent time here the way I do, you would know about all these things that exist in the area that you can do with the kids. But he doesn't want to take the time to do it. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think we don't adequately market what is available for everyone in this community, not just Tanglewood and Jacob's Pillow or anything else, but there's a plethora of things that can be done with with kids
Let me just
and the
say-
families.
Hold on. I want to say. one
We're
thing.
getting off topic a little bit.
This
I'm
is on
sorry.
topic. I want to say one thing.
I'll give you a second.
Yeah.
Right? Hold on. As a kid, was the captain of the football team from Monument, from West Stockbridge. 2 years ago, graduated, he joined, he's an EMT working for us down at Southern Berkshire Ambulance. All right? Nice kid. Maybe you said too much already in terms of identifying who he is. A lot more housing options in Boston. He wants to become a paramedic. Likely this area is going to lose him over housing. 25 of the 30 people who work for us, all of us in South Berkshire from this ambulance service, live more than an hour away. Many of them approach me, any place where we can live in Great Barrington, around Great Barrington. It's about housing. Our mission is not marketing.
I'm not debating the fact that we need to do something to make living here more affordable for people
Right.
like that.
So
I think it's wages.
Well,
It's economic development.
every year, one of my.
And also,
We send a young person away. Just my godson just moved to Boston. Would he have loved to have stayed here where he could afford to buy a house? Absolutely. I can tell you a story over the past 3 decades, when I first came to Berkshire County, of friends whose children wanted to live here, wanted to live near their parents, wanted to have a job, but the housing became exorbitant. And as a person who's in an allied health profession, we absolutely desperately need paramedics and EMTs. It's a combination. We absolutely need affordable housing. If you build it.
We do need affordable housing, no question.
A much more vital community for all of us. It's sustainable for all of us. We should all be worried about the current state of affairs.
And the only point I'll make is you can make entry level now, might think that our paramedics, our EMTs are going to be at 27, 29 bucks next year. That's 58 grand a year, and that's before their overtime. And the paramedics are going to be $6 an hour more than that. So you can make 60 to easily 100 grand a year for your paramedic. And these kind of units, you can afford at 60.
Yes, I'm not debating that point.
I'm not
I just think
getting
it's multifaceted in terms of having young people here.
Years to talk about housing solutions to get people to do what they want to do. Now, I don't know what kept, your neighbor Sergio here. He seems like he's in this age range. The exception doesn't prove the rule. And I think that we're looking for the exceptions here. I would like to keep more Sergios around here. And the way you do that is you make it so that they want to have a guest and need a little privacy or whatever the issue is, they have their own place. And I think a lot of people would rather have a smaller place. You've lived in New York. I've lived in Boston. I have a gazillion friends who lived in New York. Some of these apartments are tiny, but they're your apartment. They're your space. And I just feel like, we should at least keep an open mind as we think about universal solutions.
I wasn't arguing against
Okay.
having affordable housing or, tiny houses that people can afford. I just think that as a community, as a town, we need to do more to demonstrate the attractiveness of being here.
Yeah, but it's not our mission though. That's not our mission.
But that would be helpful.
That's not our mission. It's true.
It
By
would
the way,
be,
if you were,
it would be helpful.
disagreeing or arguing, it's completely fine.
That's what we're,
It's completely okay if we don't always agree with things. We're gonna talk through some of this stuff, and this is not easy. Because the next thing we have to wrap our heads around is then, really kind of a two-dimensional grid that goes by age. For example, kind of housing that people could downsize to might be an equally valid thing for us to look at. That would open up housing stock as people were selling. All right, potentially. All right. Looking at the age grid of who we might want to focus our efforts on. And then on the y-axis would be looking at the types of housing that we might want to look at. These tiny homes could be tiny homes for rental or tiny homes for home ownership. Or you could focus on trying to have an ADU strategy for rental or home ownership. Or we could try to build housing that's really more appropriate for families. Or we could look at, kind of not doing any of that or in conjunction with all of that, trying to see if there's ways that we could support, the children and grandchildren of Stockbridge residents anywhere in the county.
Exactly.
The housing subsidy. we have a lot of options that we're gonna have to kind of wrap our head around. And luckily, you know, the regulations are gonna be open for public comment till October 31st. And then they're gonna finalize them, and then the towns can start talking about them. And it's likely, I would love to see Jamie and her colleagues to say, we're gonna do a special town meeting to talk about this and decide. But it may be this is an issue that doesn't get resolved till May. So we got a lot of time to think about our options, because I don't think we're making a lot of decisions for May.
No,
Or at least before we're in a special town meeting is. So, you know, to wrap, first of all, are there other opportunities there? Do you want to talk about, for example, you know, increasing AMI? That basically moves us to the middle class and moves away from some of the poor people who might need housing options. Is that something that we want to talk about?
Can I say, I want to say
Yeah.
one thing about the tiny houses. It's, you bring these people in, paramedics, whomever, I know exactly who you're talking about. And it would be great for Andrew, but if Andrew wants to get married and have kids, a tiny house is not going to work.
It's absolutely not.
It's, these tiny houses are for a single or a couple, but they're never going to be able to have kids in these. So they're going to put their money into them for what, to have them for a year, two?
Yeah, and then resell them to the next,
And then where do
then
you,
get credited.
and then where do you go though? You
That's why
know,
you have to have,
still looking for how,
maybe the community has 4, 8, and 1,200 square foot options.
I think we're better off looking at putting duplexes up places, you know, where you've got 2, 3 bedrooms than these tiny houses.
Yeah. And that could well be, because we can't do everything, we're a tiny town.
Exactly.
But my thought is, if you don't get the kids to stay, people like that, right out of high school, who take a job as an EMT, once they move outside because they enforce somewhere else, we've lost them forever. I want to keep people here so that they're building, you know, he falls in love with the nurse at BMC or at Fairview, and he stays, and then the next, then maybe it's the $25,000 down payment idea, and they end up buying a house in Sandusville or Hinsdale or North Adams. I don't know. I just feel like kind of right now my observation is just it's broken, and we should really start to talk about how we fix this stuff because it's not working right. You know.
Understood.
I think it's a good idea, though. One of the things we talked about several years ago, I'll send it to you, was this a relatively small change to our town zoning, which was the flex zoning, I think I called it. And it was basically like, right now, there's a penalty in our zoning. If you want to do a 2-family or 3-family, you have to have 6 and 8 acres in R4.
Yeah.
Well, why not let people keep the house size relatively small and maybe have no penalty? So in R4, you could do 1, 2, or 3 homes. And I love the idea of duplexes. Some people say, oh, I don't like, what do they call it, cluster housing or whatever. Yeah, I
Just a
don't know.
multifamily.
It's just a multifamily, yeah. So it's not hard.
So
Yeah.
my kids live on one side, I live on the other. I love that.
Yeah. So maybe that's a whole nother thing, right? Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, my kids would love to come back, but they can't. Well, my son would love to come back. But they also leave for college and they see a bigger world. So there has to be something that draws them back. And part of it is jobs. I mean, now that schools are closing, that for some of them, they have nowhere to go. So.
but I agree with you that I think that, we need to think ahead, with respect to the tiny houses, and, it may be an entry point, but for how long will that entry point last? I mean, when I'm now, I split my time and I'm in Philadelphia. I live in one half of a duplex and my daughter lives in the other half of the duplex.
Is that great?
And so, my wife and I and my wife's caregiver and my daughter and son-in-law and 3 of my grandchildren, we're on one lot.
How lovely.
And it's kind of nice, the multi-generational issue, 3 generations of people, living, you have to go outside to go in. We don't have a door connecting between the two halves of the duplex. So you have to walk outside, either the front or the back, or across the deck. But it's kind of nice. I mean, my grandkids are in my house all the time, and it's, it really propagates something, a sense of family and community that really is wonderful. And, us pursuing something like that, I think would be very beneficial on multiple fronts.
Jamie, what do you think of all these ideas we've bandied about? Which ideas do you think the select board would be more likely to get behind, less likely to get behind? Or, what do you think personally are the better ideas or the worst ideas? There's no wrong idea here. We all can have an opinion. We don't have to agree.
I think I can only speak for myself. Open meeting laws and all.
This isn't violation. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Sure.
No, I think they could be all good ideas, but I think we have to look at it all globally. Like, we can't just look at one thing like, oh, we're just gonna build a teeny house, like the duplexes, maybe some duplexes, some teeny houses, some,
For mixed use.
yeah, I don't think we can just be focused on one. And it's also, we do need more jobs. Like, my 3 kids live, and it's a national trend, not just Stockbridge, Massachusetts. Young people are out west or south. They're out west and south, all 3. So, and why? Because they earn more and they can get jobs in their field. Do they have some odd job? No, and I think we need to promote what's good about not just Stockbridge, Massachusetts, but the Berkshire.
The region, absolutely.
There are calendars.
And there are children in
all the.
I want to hear. Yeah, let's.
And there are children in other towns like Dalton, but they have different houses. They have little starter houses, they have duplexes, they have 2-story houses, they have apartments, they have affordable housing, they have senior housing. Like, they have all of it. Like, they're not afraid of it. Or, so I think we have to open our minds, and it's hard because our zoning is difficult, right? But that's planning board. So we have to, work together.
I think that's an important point, is that as boards, we have to work together. I think we do everything separately, and it's not, we need to be on the same page. We need to know what pages we're on.
And we cannot change the aging thing.
Yeah.
But you can at least.
We're an old community.
Now we are, but we weren't
No.
15 years ago. I mean, we were much younger.
But let's deal with the facts. This is the way it is.
But, I consider a personal failure. All right. I was on one of these boards for 5 years, and I ran in 2020 on solving housing in Stockbridge. We haven't built a single house in that 5 years. So my suggestion to our representative of the planning board and our representative of the select board, and this is said with absolute respect, recognizing that I failed to do this, all right, is if you want to figure it out, come up with a deadline and figure it out, because we ain't getting any younger, folks. And if 10 houses come on the market right now, 9 of them are being bought by second homeowners. Not that that's bad at some level, but 9 out of 10. You fast forward with a town that is 65 years of average age like we are now, and in 20 years, there is nobody living here, 25 years, all right? You're talking about a population that could drop by 50% or more in the next 25 years. This is a problem worth solving. And I tried, but I'm just telling you, I wasn't successful.
No.
Yeah.
Well, a new high school would help too. Something that would really, when I talk, I'm also a realtor. When I talk to people, they want to know, how are the schools? And, Monument has great teachers, but the building itself is crumbling. It was crumbling 20 years ago when I worked there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if you feel like we need duplexes,
Right.
you feel like we need to resolve,
But if you want them to come, you better make it so that they have a place for their children to go to school, that they feel safe and that they're going to get what they need.
I'm talking about zoning reform, and that only sits with the planning board.
Yeah.
Always like,
Either zoning reform or identify certain locations
Mhm.
in town where whether they're duplexes or maybe partially small houses and maybe others, that there could be a development that would be acceptable in the town and be consistent with the character of the
Yeah.
town. And maybe that's, one of the things that we could do is look for where those properties might,
But we can help,
Like the Lavin Center,
we can help make suggestions.
like the what?
like the Lavin Center
It's
on
that,
Seven.
you know, that on Rattlesnake, the corner of
Yeah, yeah.
Rattlesnake and Seven.
Yeah, but isn't that,
That
right?
needs to be taken down.
Yeah.
But let's talk about like where, that property's 26 acres. I've been in that property twice.
Yep.
26 acres in what I believe is R4 or is it R2?
I don't know.
So if it's R2, once you take out like building like sewer, and roads and stuff, you can build maybe 12 houses. If it's R4, you can only build 6. That's where we need a little bit of help. Like that would be let me finish. It's on the bus route. It's a great place to put 10 or 20 units. It is a rotting hunk of crap full of lead paint and asbestos right now. It's a great thing for us to resolve, but we don't have zoning to resolve it. And it's not like we want to blow up all of Rattlesnake.
Right.
What?
We've been talking about that property for months
And nothing's
Talking is-
done.
Sure. Huh? Yeah.
Nothing's gonna.
and nothing's been done.
Well, we were.
But the point I'm making is you can't make the numbers work. The guy wants $1 million for the property. On 8 units or 10 units or 12 units, you can't make the numbers work. If you're going to do something there, it has to be 30, 40 units to make it work. Because otherwise the land is too expensive. It's the same old story here. The land is too expensive to do it if you can't put in the density in that one property that is rotting, sitting there rotting. And the point I was simply making is that's where maybe we need a little bit of zoning reform. I don't know.
No special permit.
I just want to say something about aging in place. It's
special
become a
permit.
national trend. And I think there are a lot of people who, if their children could be in a duplex next to them, telecommuting, which has become really so popular through the years, that aging in place is really, as opposed to going to a nursing home or assisted living, is really the national trend.
It really
And I
is.
bet there would be people in this community who would be overjoyed to have a duplex living on one side and their adult children on the other side of a duplex. And again, so many of us are able to telecommute these days. I could see this as being an attractive selling point for our community.
And just to further brainstorm, one of the things here we haven't really focused that much on, but this bird in here is the ability to preference artist housing. Tanglewood is a huge consumer of what would otherwise be year-round rentals in this area. And we were to figure out something somewhere between us and Lennox that, and it could well be, Tanglewood's property, everything north of the main gate is Lennox, not Stockbridge. But, we've met with the Lennox, Affordable Housing Trust before. But you solve that problem and you get those 150 units back in the rental market just by allowing Tanglewood, which has got $500 million or more endowment. They don't need us to subsidize them. Just allowing them to figure out the artist housing issue. And we could potentially free up dozens and dozens of houses for year-round rentals that are otherwise being rented 3 months a year in the summer.
So they're vacant during the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Well, it's not all of them. I mean, there are people who.
Maybe they might Airbnb.
They rent them for the summer and then they come back.
Okay.
I like the idea of Stockbridge being a haven for,
Artists.
artists.
It was.
Yeah, it used to be, yeah, sure.
Well, it's
Look at
still is.
go look at the photos in the Berkshire Theater Group. It's one over here. So I'm getting tired. All right, anyway.
But you exceeded your 15-minute discussion on this issue.
Yeah,
Well, we don't have anything else to talk about.
yeah.
We're not talking about Bruce's thing today because he's not here,
Mark's thing.
not
Mark's.
Mark's thing. You see, I'm getting tired.
See, Bruce,
Um,
he's not here.
Uh,
Not here.
there's that.
See where you rate.
HG agenda. All right, let's move on.
It's at the top.
We actually did 2 and 4 just now. We reviewed the seasonal community slides and we discussed priorities and options. And that's the whole agenda. So you want to keep talking or you want to go home because it's Friday night?
Does anybody else have anything to offer?
That's a better way of putting it.
That's why I'm the secretary.
And she didn't want to be chair.
No.
You should be. She.
We've been discussing priorities and options.
She'll remind you to get your agenda in, right?
Yeah, no, actually, I think that this worked out serendipitous. I'm not making excuses, but the fact that the actual regulations came out was actually helpful to discussion.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if that's it, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Sort of, or do, oh, we have to have another meeting?
All right, so.
We have to have an agenda
I suppose, yeah.
that, actually start
Okay, I'm gonna pull up my
accomplishing
calendar.
something.
That's true. I'm gonna be away. Do you want to
No.
make it 2 weeks?
Well, I think that the only reason to have a meeting the next 2 weeks is the comment period for the seasonal communities is on October 31st. So I think that it's the end of September. I think if you guys don't mind reading the regulations and really thinking about them, I think that if we submit comments as we're the largest town in the Berkshires has been pre-designated as a seasonal community, Stockbridge right here. So if we want to speak with one voice and put in some comments, whatever they are, I think we should meet by October 15th and talk about whether we want to, and if so, what those points would be. So my suggestion would be we have a meeting, one agenda item meeting on, like maybe what? We have October 11th or October 18th.
The 11th is a Saturday, I think.
Right.
I'm sorry, the 10th. We do the 10th and then on the 17th,
My phone's.
Okay.
I'm happy to write up whatever we do, but we're gonna have to have two quick meetings. One would be you come in having read the actual regulations. You come in with suggestions, if any, on whether we want to do a public comment. I'll take the weekend, write them up, and then a week later, we actually review the document and approve it. Unfortunately, you can't do shared documents in the crazy open meeting. You know, we're not allowed to work actually collaboratively, just like 1970s
I will
rules.
be here on the 10th, but I probably won't be here on the 17th.
Okay, but that's just reviewing the document.
Okay.
So, okay. So you want to say 4:30 on the 10th?
Mhm.
Everybody do that?
Okay.
All right, we're only gonna talk about one thing, which is whether we want to put in comments. And if we don't want to put in comments, then, it'll be a very short meeting. All right, seasonal, Affordable Housing Trust. Seasonal Communities Comments Meeting.
4:30.
All right. All right. So do we have to wait till the 9th to do that agenda? Or can we get that one? That's,
You could do it tomorrow.
all right. Got it.
Are we, now can I make a motion?
Yes.
I'm making
yes.
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
All in
Thank you,
favor?
everyone.
Thank you.